Okay, Andy, take it away.
Yeah. Okay, so this is an update on our Ethiopia project, which I've been to, was it now 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago? I've been there for 10 days, setting up 2 servers and waiting for the laptops. So this is all is set up in the Madden Social Center in Addis. It's next to the Alert Hospital. The Alert Hospital used to specialize on leprosy, but now it's like a general purpose hospital. And so the center was set up next to them, and the center deals with HIV and malaria orphans. It used to be leprosy cases, but now it's all conflated. So once you have HIV, your immune system goes down, and all the other stuff that you contract just makes stuff worse. So this is the center. So Sister Senknesh is a friend of ours who set up the center and runs it. The center is basically comprised of like buildings made out of shipping containers. So eventually, before in the 80s, in late 80s, they got shipping containers. They got a lot of material in shipping containers, and they kept the shipping containers also, and converted them into buildings basically. So this is why you see these corrugated iron walls and stuff like that. They run an informal education program. It's outside the official Ethiopian school system. This is their kindergarten or / preschool. They don't distinguish. It's run according to Montessori principles, and so the children progress at their own speed. They have very nice materials.
Those chairs look very sturdy.
Yes, yes, yes. They had local carpenters make these chairs for them. They're very long-lasting. But they use the floor also a lot. So floor space is always.
Yeah, so Montessori, you know, like remember for my kids' school, the mat.
Yes, exactly.
Space. And
yes.
You work in that space.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and you see a lot of bright colors. This is something they emphasize because at home, very often they don't see the bright colors because everything is like earth colored. The walls, the floor, their clothes very often. So, and then they also have a tutoring program that catches children that drop out of the formal education system because the family was severely impacted by a trauma event, like losing one of their parents or losing both of their parents. There was a week before, 2 weeks before I arrived, a big mudslide just next to the center in a big garbage dump that killed a bunch of people. And so there were children who spent their day with their grandparents. They came home and the house and their parents were just gone, basically. So it was very traumatizing, and they were having case meetings over these cases that they're now taking over into their center. So this is a group of students that dropped out of the formal education system, but they're teaching themselves basically. So older students are teaching younger students, or they get taught by Fergadu. This is him. He is also doing now the math education with the laptops. And he also comes out of the system. And so by now, these students go to college, for example, some of them, not all of them. When the reporters came to talk to people and interview them about the garbage dump mudslide, they were surprised that there were civil engineers among the people helping out in a slum area. And so these are people who have been coming out of the system, who went to college and then come back and contribute to the community, basically. So this is where the laptops go into, Samir.
So in this instance with these students here, when you say they're educating each other or teaching, are they following any kind of a structure there, or is it just like
they have they have a set, so they get the curriculum of the schools, and so what they're trying to achieve at the end is to achieve the tests that the school is running so that they can. Okay. So they're trying to get them to at least or exceed the level that the official schools are teaching them. Yeah. Yeah, so this is how they learn. They always learn in like small groups. They discuss their solutions. They help each other out. And quite a few of the people who come out of this program, they're now sort of middle school teachers, because this is all they've been doing since they were 9, 10 years old. Basically, they taught each other, and so they're really good at it. And now slowly the school system is starting to recognize the contribution that is being made there. This is the location. So Alaric Hospital is there. There's a big open space here. The garbage dump is to the north of here. This is the, you come in here. This is 2 cars, 2 Land Rovers that are parked there. This is where the generator, the housing for the generator, this is an administrative building. And here are rooms where the community meets. So they have a community credit lending program where they have their own pot of money, basically, and you can get money out of that pot and then you pay back. So they support local small-scale entrepreneurship. And then, so this is the compound where this happens. This is not the education part. The education part is a little bit further away into the slum, is where they got a couple of rooms and power and a playground. This is happening. Okay, these are the OLPC-NL3 laptops. I actually forgot mine. I was like, I prepared it yesterday. I put it down there. I left it at home. James Cameron, who is preparing the software images, just the day before I left, we found some bugs. And he cooked, like in one day, he cooked a new image, baked a new image, and sent it to me to test. So I downloaded it, I tested it. And so now the laptops that was after the laptops have actually been shipped to Ethiopia. So now the guys, I taught them, I wrote like a 4-page manual on how to put a new image, a new software image onto the laptops. So, and we practiced it. So we had like a couple of practice sessions on how to image these laptops. So now they actually have to install a new 1604 based Ubuntu image onto the laptops.
So the instructions are these things that are already someplace and you just customized it, or? No,
I got some instructions from James, but then I wrote it down in a very step-by-step, like insert the thumb drive.
Maybe we should put that up there.
Yes.
Useful for others.
Yes. Yeah. So these are the NL3s. This is running Pathagar. So this is like Pathagar. This is an image that Samir took a while back when we had them side to side. This camera can you can flip it backwards, so it rotates on top. You see that little thing?
It's on a hinge.
Yeah, it's on a hinge, so you can turn it around, so you can record somebody else. Yeah, you cannot rotate the screen, but you can rotate the camera. They're like Chromebooks. They have 1 GB of RAM, run a Celeron Intel Education CPU.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So this is the practice session here. We practice how to install a new software image.
So these are the ones that didn't get stuck in customs?
I bought 2. I got 2 to test the system. I took 2 of them with me. These were the laptops that we used to test things and to practice these kind of things. This is the case that Alex built from the outside. So because I took a lot of photography gear with me, because I know from experience that photographers get a lot of leeway in customs, so they're known to be crazy and to bring crazy crap. So everything was like labeled with like camera trap housing, control unit, and stuff like that. So I didn't get any questions on these things. So even the Wi-Fi router also had like. Oh no, this is one of them. One of the ones that we bought in Addis actually. Yeah.
I see the little glasses of tea.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those are very typical.
Yeah.
Those little glass ones.
Yes, because they drink very strong tea.
Yeah.
very dark. It sits there for hours and boils.
I have one of them at home, because even in India, that's the glass you drink in.
Yes.
Oh,
And I have to say, so the girls, the Zeman, you can't really see her here. Here, she also comes out of this program, and so do Gadu and Hirut. The girls were much faster at doing these tasks than the boys. So, but mainly because Zeman is she also teaches like general computer skills, like Excel, Office, these kind of things. So they have a couple of like CRT monitors and really old. It's like really old, but she's really handy with doing these kind of things. So she's now the admin. So whenever something goes wrong, she's sending me an email saying, "Hey, I tried X, Y, and Z and it didn't work. So what should I try next?" So.
And in this exercise, are they just practicing the install step, or are they like going through some of the software?
No, this is just for flashing.
Okay.
So I made 4 identical thumb drives of which they can image these. This is so just when the 100 laptops come, that it doesn't take them days and days, but they with 4 of them they can like do these things. With Fukado and Hirut, I had many sessions teaching them how to use Moodle, how to set up classes, how the system works, how it's content and stuff. Yeah. It's really a Kafkaesque approach. Every time you fulfill whatever they wanted, they ask for something else. So now the latest is they need an authorized permission document from the Ethiopian embassy in Washington, where the original application was handed in. Because the funders for the laptops, they sit in New Jersey, so they did the project application that they like the first approval that you can import 100 laptops came through the embassy of Washington. But now there seemed to be one stamp on some document missing or something like that, so they have to go back. Something needs to get stamped and authorized, and then they can go back to the customs people. The problem is also that if stuff sits in customs past a certain period, you have to start paying for the storage in customs, right? So there's also a benefit for the system to prolong the system. So yeah, so it's going round and round and round and round. So yeah, we prepared 2 servers, 1 Raspberry Pi 3 with a 1 terabyte external hard drive and 1 Intel NUC with a 1 terabyte hard drive. This is the case so this is the NUC. You can see it here sitting on the desk in one of the classrooms in the education center, hooked up to the UPS with an external monitor, an external keyboard. And then Alex built this nice Pelican case with inbuilt power strip, with Ethernet ports, and this heatsink system in which I installed the Raspberry Pi 3. So this has 3 layers of these metal grids, and then it is housed on a copper plate. The copper plate it's a plastic plate coated in copper. It's very heat conductive, but it's also electrically conductive, so it needs to be electrically isolated. So this is clamped to one of the plates, and then the top one. So we thought we could buy just screws that fit in Ethiopia, but they use the metric system. They don't use the imperial system. So we didn't find any screws, but we found washers. So I added a stack of washers to distance this plate off and to add as another piece of the heatsink, and then added local screws to keep everything in place, and then added this screw that is touching the heatsink on the CPU.
That was my question. When I saw that picture, I was like, I bet that's touching the actual heatsink.
So yeah, exactly. So so on the CPU, there's these little tiny heatsinks that you can buy for the Raspberry Pi CPU.
Oh,
to stick.
They're about a centimeter.
Yes, exactly. There's a little grill basically.
Mhm.
And so this screw is touching the grill, and these ones, they're tightened a little bit tighter than they need to be to be even with the washers, so that there's a slight bulge to give it a bit of a buffer. So when you press on it, it doesn't press too hard on the board directly, so the pressure is a little bit caught. But that also means if you release these screws, you have to release this one first, because otherwise it will straighten out and it will really press on the board. So they know how to like take it out and stuff like that. But you can access the SD card from here. And so the power cord and this is the Ethernet cable that is plugged in. You can also access it from here. Yeah, so that worked nicely. So it's closed. It is like dust proof and everything. And the Raspberry Pi overheated the first time before I left. When I downloaded all that Internet Archive content, froze. So the symptom of a freezing, of an overheating Raspberry Pi is just it doesn't do anything anymore. Freezes, and then you have to like unplug it, wait for it to cool down, and you can power it up again. But with the heatsink, I put it through its paces and everything, and it didn't overheat. So that heatsink actually works nicely. Yeah, so those are the two servers. The Raspberry Pi runs on the Debian image. The NUC runs on the CentOS image, because the Debian image for the NUC didn't work. It didn't bring up the network interfaces. So now with the NUC, with the CentOS image, the problem is that the CentOS image has slightly older software on it. So there's a different Moodle version on it and these kind of things. So that proved to be a bit of a problem. Also, the web servers work differently on both of them.
Were they originally intended to be mirrors of each other?
Yeah, yeah. But now they're in two completely separate locations, and there's no connectivity bridge between them, because they're more than half a mile apart.
Oh.
And we had initially planned to have a Wi-Fi bridge with like hops in between, and with very powerful Wi-Fi antennas. But the authorities are really against that. So they also didn't allow us to even get this out of customs. So they weren't even handed over to them, these Wi-Fi antennas, these Pico station, Samir, that you also run. We kind of run this there. So we had to.
So is that a regulation thing? Or?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a legal thing, they claim. So they are afraid that this.
Somebody will run stations, right?
The political opposition, the Ethiopian diaspora runs a radio and a broadcasting system that they're afraid that leaks into the country, basically. So they're afraid that people get access through our system, that this has access to the internet, that we would like broadcast whatever the Ethiopian diaspora or the Ethiopian opposition would want us to broadcast. But it's not happening, and you cannot, from a laptop, like even when you plug in the LTE modem, it's two networks. One is the internal network that the LTE modem opens, and there's no bridge between the two. So you cannot go from one to the other. This on purpose, that the laptops only access the content that is on the server. Yeah. It's all done through a web interface. So it's like in a box homepage with the links. So there is all the Rachel content is on there. I put this on there. There's all the Internet in a box content. There's like Khan Academy, the Wikipedia for schools, Wiktionary, a lot of health and farming information, like what do you do in a remote area where there is no doctor? These kind of information, like basic health information.
These are the modules that you get.
Yes. Yeah.
From the Hesperian Foundation.
Parent Foundation, but there's also other content like skills, kind of.
Yeah, Rachel came with a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I added all these modules in there. Like now the hard drives are like about half full, so they have like half of the terabyte.
So in this case, the drive is also inside the case, so it's outside.
The hard drive is all inside. It's all inside. So yeah, another thing is like power supply. So at first we thought these things, this is a pass-through USB buffer. It's actually not. It doesn't switch fast enough over. So when the power fails, this is not a UPS. So this is why even this thing is buffered with a UPS. So we bought an APC to buffer this because this is not fast enough. You can run the server for about like 15 minutes off this thing, but then you're out.
So when the power goes, that won't switch fast enough for the server to continue to run.
Exactly. Yes.
Then it will power the server for the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, if you have to press the button because it will switch off.
Right.
Because
and then you
yes. So you've already done the damage basically.
Right.
So but you can run it if you want to. You can run it off a battery for like 15 minutes of this small battery that is plugged into the power strip. Yeah, and the UPS lasts, like with the UPS is fairly powerful. It can sustain a PC for about like 20 minutes. It can sustain the Pi for at least 30 minutes. So, but it will annoyingly beep all the time, the UPS. So like, you don't want to do that. You get reminded you actually have to shut down.
We had to put tape on the grill, on the speaker that beeps, on the UPS because it's just so annoying. Middle of the night and stuff like that.
Yes.
We just had to put like layers of tape on it. But
so they actually run the server only when the school is in process. So they switch it on in the morning and they switch it off after the session. Yeah. So there is somebody there. It's not unattended. Because they frequently have power outages. We had power outages that lasted like a day and a half. That was the longest, but it would fail frequently. Fortunately, they have a strong generator. So they have a strong diesel, an Italian diesel generator that's housed in a locked cabin. But that is powerful enough to run the whole center, basically. So like in the weekend when I was there and the power was out for 1.5 days, that whole generator was running just for a Pi and a Nook, right? So there was nothing, nobody else was doing anything except for this. So eventually they rigged up a second generator that they had in a shed somewhere, a small one, like one of those you see on like fairs where people run off their local stuff of it. But as soon as they had that one working, the power came back on and they didn't need it. So. But yeah, there is a generator there, and the generator is also strong enough to charge the laptops if necessary. So in preparation of a session, if they want to charge the laptops, that generator is strong enough to actually do this. And that was budgeted, so they have the fuel for the generator and stuff is in the budget.
We had a similar situation with the generator in India, where one morning the kids showed up at the door, and they had collected money, pool money, to be able to buy 1 liter of diesel.
Yeah.
Because they were like, we know that you have this big thing and you don't want to run it, but we'll pay for a liter of diesel. So you can run this thing and you can use it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And that generator is like a truck engine.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah, so this thing is like it's 2 meters long, it's about 1 meter high and 1 meter wide. Right? So
does it have a big tank on it?
No, it does not. It charges electrically. It has its own, like a truck battery.
Okay.
So
what we have is got a big flywheel and a thing. So you actually have to go in and
yes.
do that.
That's what hospitals do. Like my father is the company my father worked for. They produced diesel engines that were like hospital emergency generators also. And they had these big flywheels the flywheels were turned electrically all the time.
Okay.
If the power failed, that coupling would fly, and then within less than 2 seconds, the engine would start. because that flywheel would just jumpstart but the flywheel was spinning all the time electrically.
Oh.
As soon as the power failed, there's a coupling that goes in, and then that really torques up the engine.
You don't need a crack.
Yes. Anyway, so yeah, so problems to be solved. Internet connectivity. It's very expensive. Like about 2 gigabytes is like yeah, a normal person's like a worker's monthly salary. So it's really expensive to run this. But also the LTE modem, to get it to work with Linux, we had no idea what before going there, what was available and what needed to be done. So we had to do it there. And it took me like a day and a half to configure that modem, because it's these modems work as USB thumb drives as well as modems, because the driver is on the thumb drive part. So that when you plug it in, you can double click on Windows on that exe file to install the driver, so that then gets everything running. In Linux, you have to tell the system to not consider it as a thumb drive, but only as a modem, because it will only, by default, it will mount it as a thumb drive, and it won't recognize that this is a modem. So you have to use this USB mode switch module that you have to install with the right settings to actually get that driver that is part of the kernel, to use that driver for that modem and tell the system that this is actually a modem. And then you have to keep the link alive. If you don't keep that link alive, the modem will shut off. So you have to run a script that every couple of seconds makes an internet request to keep that modem alive, because otherwise it will just die for no reason, basically. So this was the biggest issue that took us a long time to figure out. And then through that, you have to configure OpenVPN, which didn't work out of the box to that modem. So now I'm replicating the system at home, and then we'll ship a new server basically to them once it's like fully configured. Actually, I have to set up 2. One that I keep for myself for testing and replication, and one that I can actually ship there. Yeah.
And so OpenVPN would be so that you can access it remotely?
From here, yes. So now they send me emails, and I try to guess what's going on and send them instructions. So yeah. Yeah, there were Moodle differences between the 2 setups. So there's a slightly newer version of Moodle on one system than on the other system. That works similarly, but the UI looks different, which is confusing to people who haven't often used a computer before. Yeah, there's small web server differences. Part of the thing that I have to teach now remotely is like basic Linux skills. Like I've sent them a manual, like command line things, like what is ls? How do you figure out where you are? How do you navigate in a directory structure and stuff like that? Power fluctuation problems. So the UPSs are really necessary. When I was sitting next to the UPS, every time a power spike came, you could hear the UPS catching it. It flips to the battery and back, and you hear click, 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 click. And so you every now and then, maybe like at least once an hour, you hear power spikes coming in. So and they reported to me saying, yes. They reported to me, yeah, this destroys a lot of equipment, like medical equipment, everything.
Switching.
Yeah, no, because you get really high voltage or high amperage spikes through the system that you don't want to have. And so charging racks still need to be built. They still have to figure out, then once they have 100 laptops, how to do that. I showed them a couple of systems, like what people have done in the past, that they use like PVC tubing and everything to set up racks, and how they pulled all the cable together and stuff like that. So they will have to figure out a way to set up power strips, basically, to put them, because the laptops will all be housed in a couple of like metal cupboards, basically, that are strong enough to hold like 50 laptops each approximately, and now they have to sort of jerry-rig the system such that they can put the charging cards in the cupboard and then charge the laptops while the laptops are sitting there overnight, for example, if the power is there. The laptops, I haven't tested how long it takes for a laptop to charge, but once the laptop is fully charged on a normal use, it gets like about 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours of use out of it.
That's not bad at all.
If you run, I looped a video, the Big Buck Bunny from the Blender Foundation. If you loop that video, it runs about like 2 hours. So if the screen is set to like 75% brightness and you loop that video all the time, then it's about like 2 hours that you get out. But at least they get through a day of teaching, basically. Yeah. Because it's about like 30 to 40 users at a time if they run such a class. So another thing is Wi-Fi access. So we don't know, we haven't had enough devices to test how many devices can actually now connect to the router and access point. So now we have these combinations of router and access points that extend to, what's it called? WPS. Yeah.
WPS, yeah.
So you can extend the range of that router through access points. And then people can, and it's, you don't notice as a user to which you're now connected to. So the router and the access point actually share the load of like people accessing it. We haven't tested how many users. We couldn't test how many users can actually connect to one. So it could be that they have to add more access points to that Wi-Fi router. But they get a fair amount of span. So now with the system, I walked around once in the school. So with the router sitting next to the Nook, for example, where you need a wired connection, and then the access point on the other side of the compound in another classroom, you can cover basically the whole compound with Wi-Fi signal. Yeah. So I was fairly happy about that. Yeah, special thanks, you guys. Alex for building that awesome case. Samir and Aaron and Alex for the Pathagar support. James Cameron for last minute image building and bug fixing, and my family, of course, for letting me go and keeping up the fort, basically. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's an awesome experience. Huh?
It is. It was very intense. I got like on average per night, I get like about 3.5 hours of sleep. I mean, it was like stuff takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like importing the content or getting the content from one server to the other, so that it actually all the ingests and all the paths are right and these kind of things. With this QX system, it's like mind-boggling how different it is between the two systems where the paths are slightly different. Yeah. So
given the number of constraints you see in the field,
yeah,
and then you're there,
yeah,
there are lots of constraints you haven't accounted for before, and you have limited time. So you
yes.
have to,
yes.
When I was in India for one of the trips, it would drop to close to freezing at night. Yeah. Right about that point, and there's no internal heating or any of that stuff. So we had a little, basically had a little fire going in the corner, and so I would have to sit there, warm my hands, right, and I would run out so that I could go run some of these commands on a whole bunch of laptops that were sitting in a line, just enough so that I would not freeze. And then after I ran all those commands and then start to sort of do the thing of copying whatever, I would run back into the place to go warm my hands again at night, And of course, my family is sitting there, they're going, what's going on? You don't understand. I mean, this has to get done now.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're only there for a very limited amount of time. Then when we went hunting for like Wi-Fi access points and routers and an external monitor and a keyboard and these kind of things, or power plugs, like very often you get these cheap Chinese power plugs where like 3 plugs work and 4 don't, right? So and it's like, why is this not working? And then they have these awesome power plugs that they're basically like international power adapters where you can plug in everything, right? But then it's like once you plug in the British plug with like the wide pins, it doesn't go back down again. So whatever you plug in later, it won't work because it doesn't get any contact because the British plug has expanded everything. So yeah, we ended up only using the British plugs because that was like the maximum thing that we could.
Well, those plugs are great in concept because like, you know, they were counted for every possible physical slot that you could fit, right? So it doesn't matter physically what the plug looks like, it'll just work. But we had the same problem. Once you put in a plug, if the next plug is thinner, it won't make contact.
So it's 220, the power grid?
It's 220.
Yeah.
You're also solving for a lot of variables, like it's not just, you know, the school server and then the Wi-Fi and then like internet access and power. There's like so many variables that like, you know, to solve all of these in the case.
So now we basically keep hardening the system and accounting for more things. So now apparently one of the servers, the database got corrupted because they didn't shut it down properly because the shutdown command failed and they unplugged it. So now it's like, how do you get the content back from one server to the other remotely, sending somebody instructions because you cannot log in? Yeah. So.
Well, you know, what I found is, given that we live and work here, you know, in this hotbed of technology, you know, the place that has it all, and the biggest challenge is you go talk to people who work in these companies around here, and they work with all this technology, and they don't get it. They don't understand the nature of the problem, right?
Yes.
They've never been in a situation where they were not able to remote in from someplace and fix a problem. Right?
Or look stuff up, right?
Yeah,
Or it's like, how do I
Yeah.
look stuff up? Crap.
Yeah, so I actually had a printed binder, a 3-ring binder with me, but I printed every single thing I could foresee I would need because I would not be able to look it up, right? And I had PDFs and stuff that I just had. And so when you talk to people here in engineering or otherwise, they simply do not understand the nature of the problem. And then of course they will all offer you solutions because they already have these solutions, except that their solutions are like a square peg in a round hole kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to solve that problem.
Yeah.
So
we'll keep iterating on it.
yeah.
Let's see.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.